Hello and welcome to my live. Will the right man still accept a woman even if she has trauma? Oh man, this is such a good question. This is such a good topic to cover. One, I just want to apologize to you guys who are tuning in America. I know that it is very early. I am being whisked away to a town called Gros, probably not saying that right, here in the south of France. It's where they make perfume. So it is early afternoon here. So timing's a little bit different being here in the south of France, but welcome. If you're new here and you've never been, if you've never seen one of my videos, you're new to my work. My name is Arica Angelo, and I am a dating and relationship expert of 14 years now. And if I'm speaking funny, it's because I have invisible braces on that make me speak really funny. So here's the thing. I've been doing a lot of these live videos with you guys, and we've been talking about some real talk. It hasn't been just blasé dating advice. It's been some deep level, next level advice that really gets to the root, that gets to the heart of things. But one of the things that I had shared in a couple of my videos is this concept of when we are trying to find love and we're trying to find someone, that sometimes there is a lie that we believe that we are not valuable enough, that we're not worthy enough for it, for love, for meeting the love of our life, that somewhere we're broken. And if we could just fix ourselves, then maybe we would find love. And so I know that, for some women that coming from a background of trauma, and I honestly believe it's not just women. I honestly believe that this applies to men and women. I think that there is typically shame that's associated with trauma. And so there's the lie that we believe that if someone knew my dirty little secret, if they knew my darkness, if they knew my shadow, they knew that I came from a trauma background and that it impacts me to this day, it affects me to this day, that no one's going to want to put up with that BS. Like that's how the story gets told to us in our mind. It's the lie that we believe. And so I feel like a lot of people who have come from trauma, which all of us, I have to say, everyone has been through some form of trauma, right? But some are a bit more severe than others. And then it continues to show up in their life. It makes it very hard to be able to connect with people. They get anxiety, they get overwhelmed, they push people away, they wall off, they get overstimulated being around people, being in relationship. They want to run. I've spoken with several people who've come from trauma, and they said, I would be at my partner's house staying the night with them, and I'd want to pack my bags in the middle of the night. I'd want to grab my stuff and sneak out the door. And it's like that lack of safety inside, that lack of safety in the nervous system to be in a relationship. And so I think that there is that lie, that story that many believe that come from trauma, that if someone knew this, if they knew my baggage, I feel like that's more of a cliche term that we can associate with, that people feel more familiar with. If people knew my baggage, they really wouldn't want to stick around. And maybe they wouldn't be able to love me. Because what goes on beneath that is because the truth is, here's what is going on with that person. Truth is, I haven't come to terms with how to love me, or I haven't come to terms with how to support myself through this trauma, All I know is that I'm aware of it, and I'm aware that I have some very strong reactions as a result. I can get triggered very easy. Like, here's the things that may go on that a person may say who comes from this background. And so the overwhelm that's in their body is, I have a hard time staying in my own body. I have a hard time doing life just on my own. So if I'm having a hard time managing this, then chances are someone else is going to have just as hard of a time to be around me, because sometimes I have a hard time being with myself. So I hope that whoever is watching this and you click this video because the title resonated with you, that what I'm saying, that you're like, wow, that is me. These are the things that I have maybe not had the courage to say out loud. Maybe I haven't been able to admit it to myself, but those thoughts play out in my head. And it's kind of scary to even hear someone say that, but it does make me feel a bit more seen and less alone, knowing that someone else understands my thoughts, understands my struggle. And, coaching with people for over 14 years, I have heard lots of stories of trauma. And with that comes this feeling, I say feeling, of an inability to be loved. Because as I just said, that person is still trying to navigate how to love themselves based on their history. Because a lot of times when we've gone through trauma, it creates some disassociation, where we kind of check out of our body. We check out of our rational thoughts, and we go to, maybe we choose irrational thoughts, because that's what we're used to. That's the vibration. That's a rhythm that we've become accustomed to. And so we feel this constant weight and turmoil and the chaos that goes on within ourselves because of trauma, because of disassociating. And so have a very hard time. And I think that one thing that we forget when we're telling ourselves these sort of stories of who's going to be able to love me, who's going to be able to accept me, is we forget first, I want to say blanket statement. We forget the power of love, but most of the time we haven't had an experience of what that tangible love looks like. And the beauty is that there are many people out there who either understand trauma, have gone through trauma, they've worked through their own trauma. And so when they see someone else in pain, rather than shunning that person, rather than pushing them away, they actually have compassion for them. They actually have empathy for them. And so I would encourage you that if this is you and this video is resonating with you, that not to go into your own tunnel of self-defeat and doubt because of just what you know is going on inside of you. But if you could almost just step back and observe loving relationships, the beauty is that in every relationship, someone at some point goes through a rough time, and that other partner has to support them. That other partner has to love them through. That's the beauty of relationship, is not everyone's going to be on the up and up. Someone's going to have a down day. And to be reminded that there are humans, there are people out there who have compassion, who have empathy, who may have shared the same story, someone who may have dated someone. That's the beauty of also, like, when you date someone, I've known men who have dated women with trauma, and they cultivate real empathy. They cultivate a real understanding of how to navigate through that. So you don't know if the next partner that you meet, maybe they haven't had as much trauma as you, but that doesn't mean that they can't have compassion and empathy and meet you where you are. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to share with you, there is one thing though that will push a man away when it comes to trauma. There is one thing, and I want to be very clear. I want to be very honest with you about that. And I'm going to share that in just a bit. But there are men who have been in these scenarios, or maybe they had a parent who had trauma and they watched their parent navigate through that in a healthy way. And it taught them how to support someone in that same situation. So while you may be caught up in the grief of what you've been through, there's always a silver lining. There's always hope. There's always someone. I'm a firm believer in this. And I see so many really like very odd couples. Like, I'm like, I would never put those two people together. Like, I would have never known that those two would have been drawn to one another. And lo and behold, here they are. And the more and more I see this in my line of work, the more I go, I am 100% convinced that there is someone for everyone. If you have the desire to be in a loving relationship, that desire is inside of you to be met. Now, you may have some self-sabotage. You may have some social conditioning, things that you need to navigate through. But when you really desire something, you don't let anything stop you. You don't let anything get in your way. And if you have troubles, if you have blind spots, if you have patterns and habits that this keeps getting me in trouble and this keeps me from actually connecting with someone, then have the 100% tenacious intention to address that. Not to discard it, not to pretend like it's not there, but to full on address it. But the beauty is that as human beings, and I think we sometimes forget this, I think we get so inundated with what's going wrong in the world. And, oh my God, did you see this? And oh my God, did you hear that? And it's just like, we're constantly talking about the chaos. But what we forget is that there's tons of compassion. There's tons of love. There's tons of empathy in this world. And if it is out there and you can see it with your eyes, look for stories of compassion. Look for stories of empathy. And when you see those, bring yourself into that story and say, if it can happen for that person, it can happen for me. Why not? Why wouldn't it happen for me? If that resonates with you, hit the thumbs up button. And it's holding on to that. It's when we partner with, well, yeah, it happened for them, it's not going to happen for me. You are already prophesying your destiny. You are already conditioning, you are molding, you are shaping what your future is going to be like. But when you have that posture of, okay, I see compassion out in the world. I see people having experiences where other people are giving love and empathy and support to them. Sure. Why not me? Why not me? And it's keeping that little window of hope open. Sometimes you just need a little kernel of hope for a new experience to be invited into your life. I'm just going to say hi to you guys in the chat. Hello, Antonio. Hi, how are you? I'm really good, darling. Really good. It got super warm here in the south of France. Very, very warm. Shocked because when I first got here, it was still cold, and I can't stand being cold. Hate it, which is why I lived in Bali for so long. Hey, Ninja Wolf. Hey, Cinnamon Bun. That's so funny. I love that. Antonio says, how are you? Hope your day is going well. It is. Lucas says, hi, great to see you. It's wonderful to see you, darling, or to see your presence that you're here. Shodan Dragon says, hey. Audio Philo says, hola, amor. Hola, audio. Ooh, Alan, you've already jumped the gun. You're already sharing what I was about to share. And Alan made a good point, and I think that this is where I'm going next. Is he says yes, if she's willing, if she's dealing with the trauma and not in denial. And I think that that's the biggest thing that will push a man away, is when a woman, you know, there's a lot of entitlement, and I will continue to talk about this. There's a lot of entitlement going on in the world that I see, where people are walking around with this, someone owes me. And I'm like, no one owes you shit. Okay. You owe yourself. You start there. Then you will see the world show up and support you in that. But first, you owe yourself. So when a woman shows up in a relationship and she knows that she has trauma, when she shows up with this posture of, that's just who I am, either accept me or move on, this is what happened to me, and that's just how it is, that kind of posture will keep a person alone. Because that's coming from a place of hopelessness. It's coming from a place of fear being masked by anger and self-protection and pride, as opposed to humility of saying, like, yeah, I had some really tough things. I had some severe trauma happen in my life, and I am trying to find a way to navigate through that. I'm actively finding a way. I'm actively participating with my healing in that. But when a woman shows up in a relationship and says, this is it, deal with it, it's like, no one is going to just deal with it. Because what happens is, when we don't heal, that saying, hurt people hurt people. The trauma that was done to you, you then perpetuate onto your partner when you're not aware, when you're not dealing with it, when you're not accountable for your reactions as a result of the trauma. No man will stick around for that unless he is the proverbial nice guy who just, doesn't have self-value for himself. And so he's going to babysit you in that. But then eventually you'll despise him because he doesn't have respect for himself. And because he doesn't have respect for himself, you can't respect him. And so then the relationship starts breaking apart and butting heads because there's not value there. There's not a real value for that person, because you know that they're not valuing them because you're treating them like garbage and they're accepting it. Ninja Wolf says, what's a trauma? So for, let's say, oh man, a lot of women have been, we are on a journey of recovering for femininity. But, there are lots of women who have been physically abused, sexually abused in their households, verbally abused, because, for so long it was like, oh, women are, just think about it. What was it like in the 60s? Like, women, like, their ultimate dream back then was to be the housewife, and serve their husband and like cook and clean. And it was just like, she had no money of her own. She had no ambition of her own, no life of her own. Her whole world was devoted to just her man and her family. And it was like she had no sense of identity in and of herself. So when there's a lack of value there for femininity, and it's like, oh yeah, you're a great servant. Yeah, aren't you wonderful? You are such a great maid. When there's not a value there, then when a woman does start showing up in the workplace, she's devalued there as well. So all that goes back to, if that's going on in society, it's definitely going on in the household. So, you hear of women going through so much abuse that just seems normal. It's like, well, that's just normal. I'm a woman. Like, it's normal to get hit. It's, yeah, I got, it's like almost this normalized pain that women went through. And so now women are standing up and going, no, this is bull. This isn't right. This isn't okay. And so, yes. So I'm not saying that just women have gone through that, because trust me, I have a lot of men clients who have gone through some real trauma as well, where they've been just as abused in their home. So, yes, that's trauma. When someone's been physically abused, when they've been verbally abused, even neglect. There's a wonderful book called Complex Post. Uh, it's Complex Post Traumatic Stress Disorder. It's CPTSD. Wonderful book. And he even says that neglect is a form of trauma. When someone has been severely neglected, that's trauma. And he says that that's actually one of the worst traumas, because with physical abuse or sexual abuse, you can identify and go, that's wrong. But when it's neglect, that it's so subtle that the person doesn't even realize that it's actual abuse when they're being neglected. So brilliant book, brilliant book. Dan Taylor says, a lot of women wear the trauma like a badge of honor, but I learned you can only help so much on the journey. You got to learn the lessons and gain wisdom. I think that when a person who has gone through something like trauma, when they come out on the other side, there is a sense of pride that comes with that, because it took a lot of work to get on the other side of it, to reclaim themselves, to reclaim their bodies, to reclaim their voice. And so in that, there is great honor in that. But at the end of the day, we don't get to hold our trauma over someone's head and say, this injustice happened to me, and now you owe me. Now you have to pay the piper. Now you have to put up with my reaction to my trauma. You have to put up with my anger. You have to put up with me, leaving you every 5 minutes. You have to put up with, this entitlement that you are here to serve me now. It's like that sort of posture is like, absolutely not. Absolutely. You are responsible for you. And even in that, where if a woman does place it on the shoulders of a man, even in that stature, that's still a very powerless place to be, because it's saying, I don't know how to navigate this, so I'm just going to put it on you. She's still just as powerless as when the trauma happened. And until she's able to dig her feet into the sand and say, listen, I got to see a therapist. I got to see a healer. I need to work with a coach. Like, I have to navigate through this for me, because I have to reclaim me. And I think the beauty of that is there is men out there who, when they see a woman like that and they see her doing her best to climb her way out of a life of pain, that there are beautiful men in the world who go, wow, I admire your courage. I admire your strength. What an incredible woman you are to be able to persevere so much. And I think that for a woman who's come through trauma, like, that is the kind of man that you want to look for, a man who has compassion, a man who has a sense of understanding and empathy. Sometimes as a result of trauma, sometimes women will choose men who end up just abandoning them, like maybe that they're as their parents did, and so in that moment she'll choose a very flaky man, a very weak man who's just like, we call them like Peter Pans, who's just like, I'm just living life. I'm not building anything. I just in the moment. And so in that kind of situation, like, that guy is not going to be safe for her, because he doesn't have that warrior spirit. It's like a warrior needs to recognize a warrior, right? And so a man who's not built anything, a man who's just kind of living vicariously through moment to moment, but isn't having a sense of vision or direction, or is actually building anything for his life and navigating through the own chambers of his heart. When a guy doesn't do that, he's not going to be safe for her. And so when a woman's come through trauma, she's got to find a guy who is emotionally attuned, a guy who values her journey, who is supportive of her journey, but also has enough boundaries within himself to not become responsible for her healing journey. Ninja Wolf says, if a man can't accept a woman for being tall, then he got no business talking to her anyways. I think you mean tall, like not in the physical stance, but like tall, like, strong emotionally. Also, I wanted to share with you guys, if you go to my website, aricaangelo.com, if you have struggled like with trauma, I have a free connection meditation there. And I know sometimes when we've gone through trauma, it really jacks up, it hijacks our nervous system. And so when we show up in relationship, it's those attachment styles, they start showing up, or yeah, the anxious, the avoidant, the culmination of the two, or just full on anxiety shows up, or just your mind just goes on loop. It's just like a record and just keeps playing the same story of, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm going to be hurt, I'm going to be hit, like I'm going to be lied to, I'm going to be cheated on, I'm going to be manipulated. Like all those stories start playing when a woman tries to get into a new relationship. And so when that hijacks our nervous system to where we can't physically be present with the new person, we've got to find ways to come back to our body. So I designed this connection meditation for people who are having a huge disconnect, who don't find it safe to be in a relationship, or who feel like they've lost themselves along the way and they don't have the confidence, they don't have the ability to communicate and say what it is that they need or what they won't tolerate in a relationship. That connection meditation is beautiful because it brings you back to your body so that you can feel safe with love. That love doesn't feel like a threat, but it actually feels like a safe place for you to land. So I hope that this was helpful. The way that I would sum this up is by saying, can the right man still love a woman with trauma? Can he still do relationship with her? Can he still do life with her? Absolutely. Absolutely. One warrior will see another warrior. I'm so excited with the new Avatar movie coming out, that line in Avatar which says, I see you, and it's a man who's been able to go on the journey of seeing himself, will be able to see that warrior in a woman and go, I am a warrior within myself. And I see the warrior inside of you overcoming this. And so it's not just, I think for, some women, we need to get very visceral things built. We want to make our own money. We want to create infrastructure in our lives to know that we're safe, and is wonderful. However, we also have to build the same infrastructure within our heart so that we can allow someone to love us, so that we can allow ourselves to be nurtured, to be cared for, all the things that we didn't have, that we can soften and heal, so that when love does come, that we are in a position to be able to receive it. As I shared in one of my live videos just recently, I said, we heal to receive. We don't heal to make ourselves worthy of love. We're already worthy of love in this moment. But when we go on our healing journey, when we become responsible for how we show up in the world despite what's happened to us, when we heal that, it's to position us to be able to receive love. So yes, 100%, a man can love a woman with trauma. The challenge is he's not going to be responsible for your trauma. He's not going to allow you to tear him apart through the reactions from your trauma. That stuff, a strong man, the right man, will not tolerate, because he loves and values himself, and vice versa. You wouldn't put up with that either. And so a man shouldn't put up with that with you either. So it's saying, hey, it's finding language to verbalize to the person, this is what I'm struggling with, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I need from you. I'm going to say that again, and I want you to write that down. This is what I'm struggling with. This is what I'm doing, and this is what I need from you. So it's letting them know, it's creating a sense of awareness of, this is what's happening inside of me. Yeah, you see the outside of me, but this is what's going on inside. You might see my great eyelashes and my red lips, and it may look good on the outside, But on the inside, this is what's going on. So I want to bring you in to my inner world. And this is how we invite people in. This is how we connect with people. I want to bring you in on my inner world, because you're never going to know unless I use my voice, which I'm responsible for. That's how I love myself. That's how I care for myself, is by letting the person in my life love me and be there for me, by inviting them into my world. So we create an awareness. And then 2, we say, this is what I am doing about it right now. This is how I'm walking this out right now. So it lets a person know, like, hey, I'm being responsible for myself at the best capability that I'm able to provide for myself in this moment. This is what I'm doing. I'm allowing myself to cry. I'm allowing myself to breathe. I'm holding myself. I'm eating some chocolate just to kind of soothe myself in this moment. I'm going to take a nap. I'm having this conversation with you. I'm using my voice. This is what I'm doing about it. And when a person loves us, when they care for us, they're going to want to know, how can I support you? And that's such a vulnerable thing to, I have found that sometimes the most vulnerable thing is saying what we need from another person. Hey, I need you to do this. Sometimes that in itself can be really difficult. So when you let your partner know, hey, this is what I need from you. Right now, I'm feeling really worked up. I need you just to hold me. Right now, I just need to curl up in a ball and just cry in your chest. And I don't need you to say a word. I don't want any advice. I just want to feel your presence. I just need the home to be very quiet right now. I'm feeling really stimulated. If everything could just be quiet for the next hour or 2, that would really support me. I need to go take a nap. And when I wake up, if you could make me a bowl of pasta, that would make me feel really supported. It's finding out like what it is, and creating that kind of framework of, these are the go-to things that I need when I'm feeling this. And when a person loves you, they want to roll up their sleeves. They want to get in the ring with you and slay the dragons, so to speak, that you're dealing with inside. They want to support you, but they don't want to be responsible for the whole thing. They don't want you to just go, ah, that's how I'm feeling. Ah, I'm going to throw a fit. Ah, and then just go, I'm just going to keep screaming. And they're like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on, and I don't know what you're doing for yourself, and I don't know what to do for you. And it's like, just reacting is not the solution. It may cause a momentary relief, but it doesn't bring any resolve. It doesn't bring a solution. What happens is you just keep perpetuating the same reaction to whatever you're being triggered by. And that doesn't actually get you what you need, because need in that is, once we've emoted, once we've gotten it out of our system, we need someone to give to us what was not given to us in the past. I'm going to say that again. We need someone to give to us in this moment what was not given to us in the past, whether that's touch, whether that's carrying words, whether that's being cared for by making food, or taking us to the beach, whether it's just, let me bring you a glass of water and just lay your head on my lap, and I'm just going to rub your hair and you can just sob and cry on my lap. I'm here. Like, whatever it was that you, being nurtured, whatever it was that you didn't get when you were a child, or when you were traumatized, and now you're feeling triggered, it's them giving to you in that moment what you needed. But they're not a mind reader. It's up to you to love yourself enough to give yourself a voice and say, I have needs, and here's my need. All right, guys. I know that this was kind of one of those topics, but at the end of the day, we have to expose the lies that go on inside of us. The lies like this one, where it's like people who think that they've come from trauma, that there are some people that may not come out and say it. They'll go, oh no, I don't think that. But then the more that you talk to them, deep down inside, there is that feeling of, I'm unlovable because I'm such a mess. And I'm such a mess because of what happened to me. And the truth is that at the end of the day, every human being has their own bag of mess. And it's allowing someone to show up for us who has that warrior's heart, that warrior spirit, that emotional warrior who doesn't just bail when things get hard. That's a man boy, and just let him play with his toys and trucks. But what you need is an emotional warrior who is going to look at your pain and say, I see your pain. I'm not running from it. I'm going to love you in this. And you going, and this is what I'm going to do for myself in this process. So absolutely, a man can love a woman with trauma, but sometimes it's just having this kind of conversation that we're having here of going, you're not alone. You're not the only person who thinks this. You're not damaged because you think this way. But at the end of the day, these are internal struggles that a lot of people go through. So you're not alone. You're never, ever alone. And the truth is that, yes, absolutely, there is compassion and there is love for you in this world. I love you guys so much. Make sure you go to my website and get that meditation. I actually turned it into a mind movie. So when you watch it, it still has my voice guiding you through a safe ability to connect with love and connection. But there's also a little movie that I put with it so that you can visually understand what I'm saying. And there's some beautiful music that really kind of puts you in a trance-like state so that your subconscious can receive the fact that you are indeed loved. I will see you guys soon. I have a great video coming out this Sunday. I believe it's called The Mistakes We Make in Dating. It's coming out this Sunday, comes out at 7 a.m. Los Angeles time. So make sure that you come back and watch that video. Okay, guys, I am off in the south of France going to Grasse, where they make perfume, and having lovely wine there. And that's going to be my evening. So I'm excited. And I know for you, most of my viewers come from America. So I know that your Friday is just getting started. So enjoy your day. I'm sure you're looking forward to the weekend. Oh, yeah, it's Memorial Day weekend coming up. So you guys have a long weekend coming up in the States if you're from the States. So have fun. Enjoy that. And if you're just watching this video, I would love to hear your comments in the section. If this really, in the comment section, if this really helped you, if it supported you, if it spoke to you, please let me know. Please share. I would love to hear your experience with this video. All right, guys, I love you. You take care, and I will see you in a next live video. See you on that Sunday video. Bye.